listening to Kevin and the Spleen.
No one's gonna ever love me.
1098.5 Radio QWX for quick.
Bussin', no cap.
No cap.
Really smack you in the ass with flavor. There you go. This show is about depression, anxiety, PTSD, and chronic illness.
We going quick. We're trying to keep you on the path to the ride home on the evening time.
It's a fucking zoo.
Make it Quicks with the Quicks Radio.
White lives do not matter.
Hey, everybody, it's time to make some crazy money. Are you ready? Here we go. That's right, it's time for the Spleen Psycho Simoleon giveaway, baby. Line up outside the building for your chance to either get pelted with rocks or $30,000.
All right, that's the whole bit. That's all I had. Well, what's up, Kevin? How's it going?
You know, I mean, WTRP obviously is one of my favorite shows based off of like the D&D character name and all that. And that does sound like a WTRP episode right there.
Oh, well, you know what it really is the intro from Crazy Taxi, but just with a couple words added to the end. So we got a corker of a guest, you guys, and I really want to introduce him. But first, I just want to take a quick moment to say, last week I talked about being a narcissist. I'm not off of that yet. But however, I don't think I realized that the way I use diagnosis is very loose and non-medical. And I feel like I don't think that's how other people think about it. So anything I said that speaks to you, it didn't. No, it didn't. You're wrong to think that. I was talking in general terms about behavioral patterns I was observing, and do not listen to that podcast and go, oh, I must be a narcissist if Spencer thinks he is. That's wrong. That's very wrong. That's not a good way to think. It's a good way to be an insane hypochondriac like I am. So hey, you know, I don't think there was like damage done necessarily, but you know, the thing is, I just talk out of my ass, and when you have a platform, that actually can hurt people, and I don't know that it did, but hey, you know, I got to think more about it. I constantly realize this and forget. So hey, but we're not here to forget things. We're here to remember things. Remember fond friendships and you know, the nostalgia. We got a great guest for you guys from the internet, from his videos on Twitch and YouTube. Check him out. The man who should have been asked how he wanted to be introduced. Yusong is here. What's
Hi.
up?
Let's get loose and unmedical, baby. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's, you know, I go like, I just say things like, oh, I'm so, you know, this or that. And I don't mean it as like, I definitely need medicine. I just mean it like there's a pattern I noticed and I'm calling that out. And then people, you know, but that's not how people should approach medicine. That's not how I approach medicine. That's how I approach self-analysis, which is also not something you should do. You should get a therapist and not self-analyze like I do, you know? Go ahead.
I am guilty of the same pattern of like thinking and like over self-analysis constantly. But I think what intrigued me the most is I'm definitely a hypochondriac. Like if I touch my front doorknob, I have to wash my hands. Do you know what I mean? Because
Sure.
like in my mind, I'm thinking like I've taken out the trash before and I've touched the doorknob with trashy hands. And thus I have to like, so are you a hypochondriac when it comes to like big things, or like I genuinely like need to wash my hands after like a lot of activities that I don't think most people would probably wash their hands after?
Yeah, you know, I think it's really more of, you know, the Googling your symptoms sickness, you know,
Sure.
where it's just like, oh, I gotta have, you know, my balls hurt, so I must have, you know, cancer. I mean, my brother had cancer, so it's a bit more like, oh, I wonder if there's a family history. You know, he's fine, but you know, it's not. It is. I'm just saying, like, any person thinking that might be crazy, but you know, and I'm still crazy, but hey, but. I don't know how much of a, you know, if you ask my doctor, he says I'm just making things up. He doesn't think I'm a hypochondriac at all. You know?
Right. Well, I hope your balls don't hurt. That's, I focused in on that, which was definitely not the point of your sentence, but just truly as a friend, I hope your balls are okay.
No, maybe like 5 years ago, there was a point where my balls hurt for maybe a week or so. But I ended up looking up, and the thing is, like, it's not like a twinging, pulsating pain. It's like ball cancer pain is apparently very steady. You know, it doesn't ever abate. And so I was like, okay, must not be that. But hey, you know, there's a thing. That's what it is. And if you think you have a burst appendix, try touching your appendix. If you explode in agony, you do. Otherwise, you might just have a kidney stone. These are things I have learned.
There's a really thin line describing like fears about your balls and the language that's used in like AO3 fan fiction, like really horny fan fiction. I just appreciated some of the adverbs and the adjectives that were used to describe that.
Sure. So AO3. That feels like AO is like adults only. Yeah,
it's Archive of Our Own, which
Archive of Our Own.
I came into my own reading Final Fantasy X, Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy VII fan fiction on fanfiction.net. But kids these days look up Genshin Impact fan fiction on Archive of Our Own, shortened to AO3. You know.
Right, and none of them have ever heard of Half-Life 3 Full Life Consequences. You know, the pinnacle of fan fiction, in my opinion. But you know what's crazy? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I unfortunately haven't, but now I'm going to ask for a link after the show.
Gordon Freeman has, I think, a brother, and he's like, I have to face full life consequences. And it's like, you know, it's like, I don't know. It was a meme for a while, so I don't know if it's real or not, but I'll send it to you. And maybe Kevin could put it a footnote of the podcast. Don't do that, Kevin. Kevin started writing it down, but you know, that's too much work for Kevin. I'll you know, just look it up. But I'll give you Yusong doesn't have to look up, but you guys will. But it's crazy. I wanted to talk about fucking fan fiction on the podcast. Isn't that crazy?
I think of fan fiction as like, I think it's like a really easy punching bag, but I think like deeper down in my soul, I'm like, I honestly really applaud people who write in any context, whether it's like Sonic the Hedgehog or you're writing your own IP or just like you're writing in general. I think the other interesting thing about fan fiction is that it is how I, like, as a younger child, encountered like lewd stuff for the first time. You know what I mean? And it was like, it's a lot of people's, like, you know, coming online moments when you read about a one shot of Naruto and Sasuke. You know, it's hard to avoid. Did you enter fan fiction through that kind of like lascivious back alley, or was it more like wholesome?
I think for me it was always like jokes. Like people would post about ones that were specifically funny and crazy, and that's how I would happen upon it, you know?
Right.
I don't know, like I agree that it's really impressive, you know, anything people do anything you publish online is kind of either it's either an expression of bravery or like madness, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I'd say most of it was more bravery, although maybe some of it's at least a little bit mad, but maybe there's bravery in that too. But I don't know. Well, I was just thinking, I was talking to a friend of mine about For All Mankind, or For the Good of Mankind, or whatever, For All Mankind, I think. Have you heard of this? Have you seen this?
I haven't heard of this.
What about you, Kevin? Nothing?
No.
So I don't think that this is necessarily an accurate view of the show based on what my friend was telling me. But the way they were talking about it, it seemed very much like the show was about it was like a fan fiction of America, which was like, I mean, any fictional thing could be cast as a fan fiction, but it's like, for me, a big part of fan fiction is what if blank, 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 right? You know, and then you kind of spin that off. And then in this, it's like, what if America like teamed up with Russia, the space race or something like that? But that's not right. People are going to correct me, but it's just like, what if, and that's a great starting point for, you know, storytelling. But if that's the whole thing, it kind of just feels like, yeah, but that didn't happen, and you don't really have like a particularly interesting take. And again, I don't know what this show is, but it made me start thinking of fan fiction of someone's life, like real life fan fiction, because I've been listening to this podcast called Benjamin Walker's Theory of Everything, and he mixes interviews with just fictional writings, and most of the writings are in the first person, and so it comes off, because he's a consistent narrator as opposed to telling multiple stories from different perspectives. So it just comes off as like it's fan fiction of his life. Like he says like, oh, I was at the airport. And then eventually he gets to a place where it's like, okay, clearly he wasn't at the airport. But then it's like, but if this is fiction, it's not really very interesting, because like part of the space he's playing with is like making it seem vaguely real and then escalating it. But once you know the gag, it's like, well, I don't care about it. This is just a guy's fan fiction of his life interspersed with interviews and discussion that is really interesting. But it's just a very strange, I don't know, man. But
yeah, I can
like,
kind of see that, like that kind of like uncanny valley line where it toes too close to reality. Like what you were saying about like, no, that's someone's life. It's I have a complicated relationship with the musical Hamilton in that I think that like it's only I think the songs are really catchy. It's infected my brain like a tapeworm, but mentally, you know. But it's also only been shown to me by people who probably have never listened to Kendrick Lamar, being like, "Wow, rap music is wow," you know. But I genuinely think that some of the songs are good. It's very complicated. But there's there's a million like gigabytes worth of Hamilton fan fiction out there. And I'm like, you cannot write fan fiction about Thomas Jefferson, even though I know that you're talking about the actor who portrayed Thomas Jefferson in the musical Hamilton. That was a real guy, and he was not handsome, and he would not have said these things. I don't know if they had abs. You know what I mean? So it's just it like that. Even though I can kind of like consciously understand that they're writing about the actors from the musical, it was like, oh, this feels too weird because that's a real human being with like real human life. Like, ooh.
Yeah, and I guess like those people are famous, but it doesn't feel like the same kind of famous as like Brad Pitt or something, where it's maybe a bit more quote unquote normal for it to be about Brad Pitt. I don't know. It's very interesting to have a complicated relationship with Hamilton. Go ahead.
Have you? And I have certainly never gone to this subreddit. Let's just say that my friend has gone to this subreddit.
Someone who isn't you went there.
Let's just say like my friend Yudong went to this subreddit, and there's a subreddit where people like role play, but it's like very like NSFW 18 plus kind of role play, very lewd in content. But there's a lot of like wish fulfillment that's like, hey, we will write to each other and I don't want to shame any of this because I'm pretty sure I'm into like quote unquote weirder stuff than what this is, but like I will role play as a celebrity, and we can do our like I write something like dirty messaging to one another. Do you like it was strange to me to think about, but I think a lot of people really like fan fiction and really like thinking about celebrities because it is an easy way for their imagination to visualize what's happening, you know? I don't know. Do you get that kind of appeal, or like what are your thoughts on that?
I think, people are just interested in stuff, and then they have imaginations, and the imaginations go in wild places, and then they're like, wait, actually, this is kind of something, you know, and then they kind of just take that and run with it. I think specifically like sexual role playing seems like just good ways to deal with like the archetypes. It's like you could say like, oh, I'm a cool slim man with lightly graying hair and a perky nice coat. I love a perky coat. Or you could just like you could shortcut it all and be like, I'm a J.K. Simmons or something, and you get like a lot of things really quick. And you get it because it's all about, like role playing. There's a lot of like various fantasies, but like power fantasy is one of them. And like, wealth fantasy is maybe another one. And I think it's like just a shortcut of like, I like all of these things. Let's just use this. And it's very easy for other people to grok, for lack of a better term.
Good thing I'm sitting down. The perky coat imagery really is doing something.
Yeah, I'm feeling some kind of way, but I too have a complicated relationship with the musical Hamilton. Have you heard about this, Yusong? Are you aware of this?
I don't know of your relationship with Hamilton, and I feel like I'm missing an essential part of the lore right now.
Well, everybody, there's the idea that there's lore is the kind of thought that makes me go, maybe I'm a narcissist, But so what you mentioned is the rap being like have these people listen to Kendrick Lamar, and the thing is that was my takeaway when I was hearing marketing and advertising for it. The rapping was like, I don't know, like stomp, clap, clap rapping or something, you know? And so just hearing that in the marketing and that in like audio trailers that I heard on NPR or whatever, I was like, what the fuck is going on? So then on Twitter, I posted most of my thoughts, or, you know, I posted a shitty version, again, like me not thinking about the consequences of my platform. And what I posted was, I don't get the appeal of Hamilton. Is it just that it's white approved rap? Because it being in like this musical context, this Broadway show context, made it feel like it's making it safer for like a consumptive public. And then when I hearing the things, I'm like, well, this isn't good rap by any metric. So like, what am I getting into? And so what I think part of the appeal is not even the rap. I think people are like, yeah, the raps are not good. And what I like is the more musical music numbers, you know, the more songy kind of things. And I can accept that. That's like, it gets into the show tunes and stuff that it's not my bag, but I definitely get why people would dig it. And so that made sense to me. And I wish I would have learned that before I posted that, because what did happen was I did post it and someone added Lin-Manual Miranda. And he saw it, and I think he was like, oh, the Sixler, and he followed me on Twitter for a brief moment before looking at the tweets, because apparently he claimed, I believe this is true, but this is a claim he made, to have listened to Harmontown and be aware of me. So he was like, oh, Spencer, follow. And then looking at it, the tweet, it's like, oh, man, Spencer shit on me hard. And then so he was like, you know, I know it's not as good as your dungeon mastering, or no, not that. Sorry. I'm being a narcissist. I know it's not as good as Dan's raps, but I hope you'll give it a chance, you know. And then he said something like along the lines of, and this is very fair, along the lines of like, oh, I think it's great if people like check the thing out before judging it or whatever, which, you know, makes more sense when the thing doesn't cost $1 million to access or whatever. But hey, I get that. And so, and because he's Lin-Manual Miranda list, suddenly, you know, I'm getting shitstorms, which is fine, whatever. But it's just a very funny thing that happened. And then
I want to say, like, are you okay? Because I know that happened probably like years ago, but I'm like, damn, like, you know, you're entitled to your opinion, like, even if it is like a bad call or maybe not the right place or the right like tone or whatever. Like, that's, I think, there's pretty traumatizing problematic to have to, you know, but anyway, that's wild. Oh my God, I had no idea that was a part of the history. Yeah,
but I think that's the thing, is I agree that I'm entitled to I think to the extent that I regret anything, it's like, I think I was putting a weird like white viewpoint on like the works of like a mixed race kind of person, you know, and I think like white approved rap is a really bad way to kind of express what I was like really thinking, you know, and maybe the thought itself is like weird and racially biased, you know, so that's what I think was bad about that. But other than that, yeah, I think that it was just an unfortunate situation. But the crazy thing, I don't know. I love it when you talk, but I have another story. Go ahead.
Wait, okay. I'll just as really quickly. I think
please.
That I can see where you're coming from, because the way that I was introduced to Hamilton is like, oh my God, it's probably the reason that people are really like, you know, going wild over it is because the Broadway audience probably doesn't listen to a lot of rap, and like, this, you know, and so that was like, oh, okay, well, I'm not gonna, you know. That's cool. Like that's
and
cool.
That's a much nicer way of saying the same thing or a similar thing.
But Spencer, behind closed doors, like I am saying some stuff about unseasoned foods. I am saying some stuff about systemic privilege. I am saying I'm spitting some fire. The amount of times I've ironically said immigrants, we get the job done. Oh boy, howdy. It is, you know, I'm not saying that I have, but if I did, I would probably get in trouble in Twitter, the free marketplace of ideas. So I'm just saying you're not completely alone in your opinion with the appropriate amount of nuance. I would love to hear your story.
Right. But I do think, you know, I do think that people kind of weren't excited about the rap, but him being a person from Freestyle Love Supreme or whatever, I think it primes someone who hasn't listened to it to assume it must be rap related, especially when that's a big part of the trailers. But yeah. Okay. So Harmontown used to be at the castle. I don't know if yes. So it got shut down because it wasn't allowed to do that. And I don't know. Usually you make something allowed before you do the thing. But hey, so we were doing a show, and the weird thing about the entrances is the way people tried to enter the.
Oh no, we've lost Spencer.
What was the groom of the Starburns? Oh, how did we lose me?
You froze for about 3 seconds there. You might need to repeat the last thing you just said.
Oh. So at Starburns at the green room, can you guys hear me okay? At the green room, that was like the obvious way to enter the building. So everyone tried to enter through the green room. Now I'm still coming through. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Sorry. And so multiple people kept walking into the green room, and I was like, I'm the guy who cares about anything. So I'm going to stand outside of the door. And if people try to come in, I'm going to say, oh, actually, the entrance is around the back. And so these two, sexy hipster guys walk up, and they just look like,
Nolan.
They look cooler than Harmontown fans. Go ahead.
It was me and Nolan, right? That you're referring to?
Yeah. So you and Nolan walk up.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, here for the show. And I was like, oh, the actual entrance is around back. But I don't think I said that. I don't think I said that to him in this circumstance.
You said
to Nolan.
You said if you're gonna come through here, you officially approve of whitewashed rap, right?
Right. No, I didn't say that, but I think I asked what his name was because he kind of had the air of someone who felt like they were supposed to walk in. And sometimes Dan's like, oh, by the way, I called someone and said they can come through or whatever. And I don't hear that. But so they seemed a little bit like different than the other people that I'd shoot away. And so I was trying to be a little more tactful, and I was like, oh, what's your name or whatever. And the guy's like, this guy has short hair, by the way. And the guy's like, oh, Lin. And I was like, oh, Lin. And then it's not registering to me, and I think he doesn't feel like he wants to spell it out for me, and I think I figure it out fast enough so that he doesn't have to spell it out for me. But then I'm like, oh yeah, right this way. But that was Lin-Manual Miranda, the guy who is only on my radar. Like he only knows me, other than the Harmontown from like this big Twitter shitstorm, that, he brought down on my head, not intentionally or whatever, but it's like, that's like, I don't know. What if it's like if you were driving along and I like threw a rock at your car and then you went to like the gas station and then I'm the gas station attendant, it's like a really weird coincidence. And it's Lin-Manuel Miranda. It's like, it's crazy to have any story with a person that famous. It's crazy to have two that are weirdly connected. I don't know.
This is coincidentally what my power roleplay celebrity sexual fantasy is. So thank you for describing it to me.
Yeah. So were you saying that you actually write on the fan fiction sites, like
no,
in the Reddit?
I mean, like, I'm embarrassed by a lot of the stuff that I have written, but I've never happened to write any fan fiction. I consumed a ton of it when I was like a teenager, and I didn't realize there was like audio visual pornography out there.
Hey man, the biggest sensory organ is the freaking brain or the skin, depending on who you ask.
Yeah, there's
a lot of skin, it turns out. People don't think about that. Okay. You ever think about whether or not you're a narcissist, Yusong?
I think like, what is the difference between like, I lately I've been so like depressed, and so I get that there's like I have a really mean voice in my head that undercuts everything that I say. But whenever I hear you say that you're a narcissist, I'm like, what if you just have like a kind of popular show, like,
Yeah. I mean, for sure. But I was just curious. It's just, I don't know. I think I'm in a position where I don't know what I want. And I don't feel like I have a purpose. And in lieu of either of those things, it's like, well, what do I do? Other than read the One Piece manga,
Wait. Not the point, but are you reading One Piece?
Yeah, I'm on like chapter 449. Are you caught up or anything?
I One Piece I'm too scared to get into because it's like literally like thousands of volumes, right? It is like famously long or infamously long, but good.
Yeah, I think it's very close to 1,100 chapters right now. So I'm about a third of the way through, which I got in about a week of, pretty hardcore hyper focus.
Yeah, I think what is really relatable is that I obviously I think I'm really scared that I'm self-obsessed. Whenever I'm hanging out with my significant other, it like manifests itself in like I always want to ask her how she's doing to like an annoying and ultimately emotionally damaging extent because I'm like my self-loathing voice is like, you are so self-obsessed that if you don't check in and you are left to your natural rhythms and desires, you will only think about yourself, you selfish piece of shit. So you have to ask. So I can relate to you in the fear of not wanting to be a narcissist.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No. Please go ahead.
I was going to say that in terms of like patterns, like patterns of self-obsession or patterns of self-interest or whatever, I think when you have a low self-image and you do deal with a lot of self-doubt and stuff like that, insecurity, the various personal demons, I think that there's this tendency to be all like, well, what will fix me is other people telling me I'm okay and other people liking me. And so I think then that kind of twists into, I'm going to make sure everyone is comfortable and okay, and I'm going to accommodate as hard as I can so they will like me, which is kind of different than how you would engage if you were, say, an emotionally secure person just engaging in a relationship of give and take with that person. It's like once you've gone all like, oh, it's fine, like I'm not in danger, then you can kind of interact in a lot more organic, nuanced way. But the kind of like putting it, like part of it that I don't like in myself is that assuming everyone hates me is a really dark characterization of a lot of people I think highly of, right? So if my good friend, if I'm thinking like my good friend doesn't like me, he's only hanging out with me because he feels sorry for me, he's constantly annoyed by me. That's a really mean person who I wouldn't necessarily be friends with, and I'm casting my friend as that person, And so I think like even if it doesn't super consciously come across as like my friend, even if he doesn't have the thought, oh, Spencer thinks I don't like him very much or whatever. Even if that's not the thought, I think that kind of energy can be kind of destabilizing because it's like, well, what's the disconnect here? It's like, it's clear you're operating in this way, like you're about to be kicked all the time. Yeah. And here I am never having kicked you. And so it's like, am I doing something? Is something about this not working? And I guess that's like, it gets to what people say when it's like, oh, if you don't fix yourself, if you don't love yourself, how are you supposed to love anybody else? Can I get an amen?
Yeah. You've also listened to the Ed Sheeran songs that I've been listening to. No, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Like, I think that like, I think that like, it sounds like, and I do the same thing too, where it's like, oh, I carry around so much like pressure and expectations and like self-doubt that it's like, how are you ever supposed to really just sit down and like get coffee with someone, like exactly. Like and what you were saying with before of like, oh, I just need to make sure like I'm so accommodating. Oh, dude, I'm like always like, even if we go to a coffee shop, I'm gonna be like, I'm going to make sure Spencer has the best time. I'm going to make sure he's the most comfortable. I'm going to try to embarrass myself so that he doesn't feel embarrassed. I'm going to do all this stuff. But then at the end of the day, like 365 days of that, I've finally started to fucking realize, and like literally in the last few weeks, like if I keep doing that, I will be a husk of a human because I have no energy left and it's eating me alive because I have no idea what I want. And so like that accommodating thing, it's so poisonous.
Yeah, and like the thing of the energy, like the energy you're expending isn't necessarily helpful energy anyway. Yes. So it's like that might not be what that person wants in that moment. So you're like, I'm throwing my coat into the puddle and stuff, and it's like, but that makes me like, so you're actively, but what you just said, like, like I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing or something, or lack of purpose. I can't remember. Yeah. In start trying to go ahead. What?
No. I'm just agreeing with you.
No, I thought I heard something. Sorry. Yeah. I just can't hear very well. This is another thing I'm dealing with. Okay. But so in my research about narcissism, like one of the things I was coming up with is that it comes in some way from not knowing your purpose and what you want. Because because that's your rudder, right? That's your path. And then you can interpret things in terms of, am I doing this to get on the path? Is this like a distraction from the path? But if you don't have like a driving focus, driving force, then you're just kind of adrift and you're like, I hope that like bird's not going to dive bomb me. You know, it's not like you're not focusing on the thing that moves you. So you're only focusing on things that'll like attack and harry you, as opposed to, you know, the things that matter to your purpose or not. Like if you've hypothetically found your purpose, and then you might interpret threats and be like, yeah, but that's not relevant to what I'm doing, so it's not really a threat, you know. And so that's something I've been that's like what I was trying to write down, is like trying to figure out, I put it on my wall, just the idea of a purpose, like, and I'm trying to figure out like what I want to do, what I like and don't like and stuff. And this is the most generic thing in the world, and I think probably on some level most humans feel this very generically and then get more specific answers. But for me right now, it's, well, I want to help people and I want to make stuff. But make stuff means like I want to like tape garbage and staple pieces of trash together, or it means I want to write or make podcasts or funny videos, you know,
Sure.
or just it means like whatever, like make a computer program. Like it's like making things means so many things, and I think all humans have like a creative urge, you know, and all humans probably want to help people on some level, so it's not really specific, but hopefully I can find something that feels like it satisfies both of those things, you know.
Yeah. Do you ever get like it? Listening to you say that made me really angry for yourself and for me. Like for example, if I was a parent right now, and God fucking forbid, but like I would make sure in raising a child, you ask them like, what do you want? You know what I mean? And like, because that is like a skill, or like, how do you feel? Because that is a skill that it's like a soft skill. It's like not, you know, and I get it. Like my parents are just like Lin-Manual Miranda voice immigrants. They get the job done. They were trying to just make it and be like economically like secure and stuff after, you know, uprooting. But like, because that was like fucking never crossed, and I'm a little salty about this, you know what I mean? Like that was never crossed. So I'm like, yeah, it's like learning how to ride a bike after a long ass time of never even being offered a bike. It's really painful, you know? So I wholeheartedly agree with you.
Yeah, I just want to think about stuff like that. Like I've been feeling weird about the podcast. I think there's parts of the podcast that are good. I think there's good talk that happens and good, you know, I don't know, political rants or whatever. But I think like the thing that weighs down the podcast is like a similar directionless, purposeless nature, because, you know, we didn't really have a founding premise. And what I tried to do was like, what if we played D&D some of the time? And that's not really a premise, but also what even meaning that had only made sense in the context of Jeff, who's not really here so much anymore. And so it's like we're just purposeless. And so now I'm insecure about the podcast. And anytime anyone says like, oh, it'd be cool if Spencer did this, I would be like, yeah, I bet it would, you fucking piece of shit, you know, because it's like, it's all just interpreted as an attack, as opposed to just like helping me either, you know, navigate the purpose or not. And so I was thinking about like trying to come up with like a new like premise or direction or thrust of the podcast to be in. And then like I just was listening to a podcast and it talked about like a branding thing is like you want to be able to like pitch what's special or unique or good about your shit, be that a product, a website, your personal posting brand on Twitter or whatever. You know, it's like just a 15 word or less like distillation of your shit. And like I was thinking about like, in terms, like this is a weird test to spring on you, but you know, I think you have a really specific voice as like a streamer and content creator, if you can accept that moniker. And I'm wondering, do you think you would be able to like come up with like a really distilled version about like what your vibe is? Because I really like your vibe on stream and stuff, you know, and I think it is a pretty unique thing. But it's like, what is that, you know?
I think I have so many things to say about this, and it's so relatable. And like the stress of like, as someone, so I had a show with Chef Kevin of Hollywood Handbook and several other podcast fame. Yeah. And a lot of the struggle in that show was because it was like ultimately premiseless. And I was like, oh, this does not, like, for me, I was like, no, I don't feel happy about this. Like our show needs to have a premise for me to feel like it's something that we can work on and that I'm like proud of, at least just for me, you know, like we're not celebrities. We can't just the concept cannot be Conan O'Brien for us. We're just dudes, like, you know. But I will say, like, I've been thinking about this too. Like, if I were to sum up my stream, it's like I talk about, you know, we play games, but I talk about mental health. I talk about embarrassing stuff. It's like weirdly horny, but I try to make it weird and safe for people. And I try to play a lot of games with a lot of luck. And I firmly accept that I'm bad at a lot of games and skills that I probably should be at. But I think it's really funny. And I try to like, this is cheesy, but I try to create like a very funny and safe space. It's very rare that people actually feel safe on the internet. So I'm like, okay, that's what I want to do. I want you to be weird. I'm going to be so weird that you're going to feel okay with being weird. Let's all be weird together.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing that's what I felt like. I think you're distilling it in a really good way, but that's like what I was feeling on some level was that like, you're like, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fall on my sword in public and not be mad about it. And that's going to give everyone else the safe space to be that version where it's not vindictive. It's not biting people's heads off. It's, aren't I a silly guy for doing this stupidly? And then, and which is, you know, I don't mean that in any, but no, you know, it just, it
extremely
creates,
complimentary.
But it's like it's a very self-effacing, you know, way to be. That's very it's very inviting, you know. Like that's what I think is really cool. And like it's interesting because when I was thinking about this before the show, I was thinking about like, oh, I wonder if you guys had a premise for your podcast and what the kind of guiding light is. And then hearing there wasn't one, it was like, oh, it's interesting because then it's like that's part of what formed the structure, right? Is like you came up with bits and segments. It's like I wonder what will people like, and that's this similar thing. Like, can I just show you a bunch of things and you tell me it's good and that I'm good, you know, which is what I think my podcast is. And it's like, but again, it's like, it's in why I never wanted a premiseless podcast is because it's like, well, what the fuck are we doing? You know, right. Because if I know what we're doing, we can do it 10% or less of the show, but it's still, at least we're doing it, you know, at least we're drinking one soda per episode, you know, talking about the soda.
Yeah. I think too, like, I think you're creative, like, you and I have a very similar philosophy because it's like, yeah, if we know what we're doing, it's also one small step away from I know why the audience is listening, like, and thus I have a reason to be here. So I was like, I honestly, from a lot of podcast producing, all I learned was how to be a nice guy and how to like send out nice emails and how to organize things on spreadsheets and make Google Calendar invites. But I was talking to Kevin when we were struggling, and we're both like podcast producers. And I remember having the conversation of like, okay, we need to be able to finish the sentence. Welcome to Maybe Don't. Every week we blank. And we say that at the top of every podcast. So everyone fucking knows, so that we fucking know, so that it's easier for us to prepare for the show and stuff. And like, I think Kevin is like truly like one of the smartest and creative and the kindest dudes out there. For whatever reason, our like Ringo and Paul relationship, I'm Ringo. Nice. We couldn't like, I don't want to say that we couldn't because I think we had really good stuff, but like it was just very difficult to cross this bridge, you know, and that was one of the things we struggled with.
Yeah, I think it's hard. I mean, and also just there's so many podcast premises out there too. Then it's like, well, I don't want to do something that veers too close to what other people are doing, if for no other reason than to fend off accusations of that'll make me feel uncomfortable. You know, even like I think I would be fine completely ripping off Doughboys as a base premise of just fast food and food reviews, but like more than not being comfortable doing that, I just don't want people to say that, you know. It would be annoying, like, and I don't think I could handle that, but hey,
I think, and this is like kind of embarrassing because it's admitting that I like tried to do something and failed. I tried to do a podcast called Millennial Shelter, and I'm really proud of the work, but it was after I had gone through like a lot of like being an assistant for writers' rooms, and I was like, oh, you know, I actually don't feel really funny right now. It's like COVID. I feel really somber. I kind of want to do like a more like journalisty or like a less funny show. And I was like, I just want to like talk about different topics and do research. And I was like, I'll do, okay, at the start of every show, I'll do like act 1, we're going to talk about this. Act 2 is going to be an interview. And act 3, we're going to talk about this. So at least I'm like, there's no real premise, but like, here's what you can maybe look forward to as you're listening to this show. little did I fucking know that it was way too much work for one person. And I like don't think that it definitely had its problems. And I'm sad and embarrassed that it's still up there, but I'm not making it anymore. So it's kind of like I failed. But ultimately, it's okay. Like I'm so
And I mean, you just like podcasts are eternal. They're like marriages. You either break it off or you do it until you die, you know? So it's like, I think like ending a podcast isn't necessarily a failure. It's just like, it was a project and it outlived its usefulness, you know? Mm-hmm. But I definitely hear what you're saying. You know, in a lot of ways, I think that happens as a failed podcast. That doesn't mean it's bad necessarily, but I think like the thing that I wanted it to do, it's not doing, you know. But we unfortunately do have a couple advertisers, so we are going to have to take a quick break. Sure. We'll be back with more Yusong Liu. Hey guys, it's me, Brick, and I'm here to talk to you about Brick's Shithouse. That's right, come on down to Brick's Shithouse today. We got shit, fuck, stuff, dick, and our favorite thing, fuck. Come on down to Brick's Shithouse. Eat your shit today in the house. Use the promo code Goblin Flakes. That's right. Brick's Shithouse, where shit happens. And we're back. Again, you know, so Kevin has activated the automatic Spotify advertisements, so we're not exactly sure what you're listening to, but let us know what you think. You know, we try to target them, and we try to make sure they're not political, because, you know, we don't, you get it. But we're back. We're with Yusong Liu in the house. What's up, Yusong? What up? We got Kevin in the field. He's out in the field for some reason. What's up, Kevin?
I'm out in the field. I'm enjoying it.
You weigh in. You got to weigh in, Kevin. You haven't talked at all. Do you have any overarching thoughts or wisdoms to share?
All right. So I guess I'm biased here because I'm on this show, but I like what we're doing. I mean, I would listen to this because it feels like, I don't know, the podcasts I listen to are just really people just chatting, you know?
Right.
2, 3, 4 people just talking about things. Like, to me, that's what I listen to. I don't want a formal, strict, like, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. Mm-hmm. You know, but I understand what you're going for there, and maybe we do need a lot more structure. So I'm not saying I disagree.
Well, it's not even structure. It's just a direction. Like, how do you know when you're finished? You know, like, how do we know if we're doing the thing we're doing? And I think you're right. When we have guests, when I'm good at talking to you, Kevin, I think the show is being good. But a lot of the show, I don't know, you know, you don't listen to Yusong, but a lot of the show is me ranting for like an hour 5, and then 10 minutes of Kevin is interspersed. But it's like, it really is just me talking. And I don't know how many podcasts are just like one person talking like an insane person, you know? I don't know.
Well, I like listening to you. I would listen to exactly what you're doing on this show, even if I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
I think, and like, I think that it is like both. I can see what you're saying in that, like more of a premise would be nice, but I can also really appreciate Kevin being like, oh, like, sometimes, like, you know, ultimately, at least your host is not uninteresting. At least your host is like extremely interesting. And second to that is like, oh yeah, there's definitely a spectrum. And I also side with you where, like, I don't like really overproduced podcasts. Like totally, like, you know, you hear crickets chirping and then fade in. Like, no. like that stuff makes me tune out. I like the very informal of like, oh, 2 people are talking, or like friends are talking, or that too. I think, yeah, like in terms of like how produced it is, I agree with you. Like, overproduction is kind of a killer.
I would love Radiolab if they just stopped doing everything they're doing in editing, and it was just literally them talking, you know? Yeah. I don't know if both of you have listened to Radiolab, but like, there's special effects. There's music cues. It's so edited, so tightly.
It's auditory masturbation
that it's just exhausting for me to listen to.
Yeah.
Where like when Spencer's talking politics or, you know, Twitter or anything like that, it's obviously not rehearsed. It's not scripted. It's me just honestly believing I'm hearing what Spencer feels, not what an editor made him want to sound like.
Right. But I mean, like the benefits of the NPR, like they get huge sponsors. I'm talking like Brick's Shithouse. I'm talking like other people. And I don't know what the Spotify inserted ads are, but I'm just saying, like, monetarily, it could be something to consider, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I know we talked about Brick Shit House before the show, but I don't like revealing my favorite restaurants in the area.
Right.
I don't want them to get swamped by normies. So that's interesting that you bring that up. But don't go there, you guys. It's the people are rude. The people are rude.
It's incredible that place is a restaurant. Like I can see like I mean I obviously know what it is. Every cool person in LA knows what it is, but like I can see other people going up to Brick Shit House and being like, what is this? Why do you offer dick specifically?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's weird. What's weird is that usually like a high concept restaurant isn't just serving like various types of like Olive Garden pasta. And then when you start naming it like these weird esoteric things, it's like, well, what are you, is that a joke? Like, are you like playing off the concept of like nice fine dining, or is it like the menu? I don't know, but it's, but hey.
Yeah, we should go.
Yeah, we could go. What are you doing after this? We could head down.
We could head down.
Kevin, can you book a reservation for 3?
Sure, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. I don't know. I don't know what else I have. We got. There's something. What I have? So I do a thing on TikTok. I talk about TikTok stuff.
You talk about TikTok slang for the kids.
Yeah, I do. That is what I do.
Have you seen the?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Have you seen the TikToks of? So Jeremy Strong is like a noted very takes acting super seriously, and people now like take his interview quotes out of context and like caption it with like me when introducing my friends to one of my best friends from college, and it'll be like Jeremy Strong describing a role that he played, and I seriously can't get this out of my head because he's so seriously going. He's jovial. He's like a merry prankster. He's got he's talking so seriously and esoterically about a character. Anyway, that's my TikTok flavor of the week.
No, I don't think I've been exposed to that. I like that. That's very delightful. I think the funniest thing about memes is just like these very random juxtapositions that no one would ever come up with, but then when you see them, it's like, that's so crazy, and especially with like the old image memes, it's like being able to like have this encyclopedia of pictures and then do that and deploy the exact right one with the thing. It's like, that's fucking insane, at least with TikTok, they kind of give you the clips to work with, but like with the old memes and stuff, it was just like, you just had to have 5,000 images on your computer or something I don't know. But the only thing I wanted to talk about was safety squints. You know about safety squints, Yusong?
Absolutely not, but please, I would love to learn.
So sometimes what you do is you put on your safety squints, which is to say, if you think something scary or alarming or shocking is going to happen on screen, you squint your eyes so that you're seeing less of it. Okay. It's like the squinting equivalent of putting on safety goggles, because on TikTok sometimes there's kind of gotcha stuff where it'll just cut to a guy throwing a baseball at the screen and it just kind of startles you because it's really quick, and so like for instances where someone's expecting something like that, they go like, I had to put on my safety squints for that one, which I don't know. It's just like because I do that when I've seen it, when I'm like, I think this is going to be the baseball thing, like, because I don't like, somehow not seeing it as much is making it like track less as like a scary thing coming towards me. I don't know, but so that's just a thing that people are doing on TikTok apparently.
There's like something very cute about everyone doing that from the comfort of their own home, just privately doing a safety squint. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's very, very strange. But, one of the things we like to do on the podcast is talk about news. That's right. Yes. It's time for our news segment. So that just happened. Kevin, do something. Oh, yeah. So that just happened. Yeah. I don't know that you can maybe file this. That's our Nazis are at it again theme. And I think you can maybe file this under the Nazis are at it again. I don't know. Not really, but you hear about all this Jonah Hill stuff, Yusong?
No, I haven't. What have they been up to?
Jonah Hill is in the news on social media, tearing up the social media because he was in a relationship with a woman. I can't remember her name. I want to say it's Sarah something Bundy. That doesn't sound right. But they broke up, and she posted his text messages, and it seems that he was being incredibly controlling in several text messages demanding that she take down certain photos of her that he deemed lascivious. If you looked at the photos in question, they are not lascivious. They're like they're very normal kind of clothes. Like I think like even just what you might picture if you think of like a jealous boyfriend overreacting, like I don't like. They're way more chaste than that. They're not, to me, they're not sexualized in any way. They're very much just a person doing a thing, you know? And so, you know, it gets to like control of what people talk about online, control of how people post in a relationship and stuff. But the thing is, the way he was doing it was basically kind of saying like, these are my boundaries, and if you don't want to respect them, then we can end the relationship and stuff. And it's just like it's getting a bunch of people up in arms because people are like, but he communicated his boundaries, isn't that valid? And other people are like, no, that's like the thing is like his boundaries are very controlling and coercive behaviors that are very commonly associated with various forms of control and abuse and stuff, you know. So it's not just that, but like also it's like, again, I think the specific behaviors are really not good, but let's like imagine that it's a very light version of something, you know, where it's a guy feeling uncomfortable about something that is very, you know, revealing or something, you know, like even if you had a boundary like that or something, the way you would deal with it is by like bringing it up and talking about how you feel and like in asking how they feel, like there's a way to try and navigate boundaries like that you might have. And again, they should be good boundaries and not boundaries used as an excuse for control, but there is a way to navigate it that's not, this is my boundary, and if you don't like it, you could leave. Like that, I'm not like in certain circumstances, you know, there's plenty of times to exercise a boundary like that, like in your bedroom and you don't want to do something, you know, it's like I think sometimes you got to be firm like that. But like, but framing it as an ultimatum and framing it as a threat of ending the relationship is a lot different than like earnestly trying to navigate a situation of discomfort, you know. And when you get into the language and the nitty gritty and stuff, it gets really problematic. But you know, a bunch of everybody. The thing is with victims is that everyone is like, well, clearly she must have done something wrong, and so without even knowing a single thing, you just kind of knee-jerk defend, and that's what's happening. But I've noticed a lot of Nazis are doing it, but you know, it is Nazi Twitter, so what do you expect? But it's just it's really I don't know, you know, it's interesting. I've been learning a lot about narcissism and stuff, and you just see a lot of it. I don't know, do you have any go? Yeah,
first and foremost, I would like to say a statement. Jonah Hill sure picked a weird hill to die on.
Hey!
Secondly, and you know, this is, I mean, we should just tell people that you texted me before saying that we were going to talk about this. I had the chance to prepare a joke. It's not, you know, I wish I could take credit. Secondly, a friend told me about this.
I texted you 3 weeks ago that we were going to talk about this. I've been phone freaking. I got inside knowledge that this was going to leak, you know,
which was incredible. And it was wonderful to watch the story break.
It was wonderful to watch the story.
Yes, and to watch people's lives get ruined and people to be harassed. Oh, I loved it. No. I was calling a friend and we were talking about like our relationships, and he told me about this thing that his significant other showed him, which is like nonviolent communication. And I don't know, like, I don't want to accidentally like misinterpret it because I have not looked this up online and I don't want to give anyone bad information. But you know how like I'm under the impression that I'm always like, oh, in a relationship, I can only use I statements. Like I feel blah, 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 blah. And so you never like attack the other person. But nonviolent communication, he was like, no, you can say things like, when you do X, I feel Y. And don't try to lead to any conclusions. Don't try to like make a story or a narrative around it saying like, this is what always happens and it results in this. It's just, when you do X, I feel Y. And, you know, in the future, can we maybe do Z? Like, and just try to lead a discussion that way. It's a little bit, it's not even firmer. It's just a little bit more honest. And I think, yeah, Jonah Hill could certainly use some of this BS. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just like bring it up and say like, you know, what do you think about this? Or we're in a relationship where presumably we care about each other's feelings. So me bringing this up, it's like, what do you think? Is that like, it's like, yeah, not prescribing, not even really defining exactly, you know, too far what is or isn't done. What's important is the feelings and stuff. And, you know, hopefully there's middle ground. But again, like, I think that's in a normal situation, but yeah. So the thing is, I talked about this in the past, but Jonah Hill actually recently released a documentary about his therapist. And in these text messages, part of it was, you know, him talking about therapy a little bit. And it's like, you know, well, I'm not being abusive because this is actually therapy talk, which is a way that therapists and narcissists can maneuver. But it's interesting because I watched the movie, I liked the movie, and I talked about the movie, and I talked about the movie being interesting and helpful. But the thing is, I don't know how much I think I talked about some of this, but the thing is, like, the movie is heavily weighed down by what is clearly an arrogant man's ego. And then seeing this come out, it puts it in such a crazier context because, okay, here's the thing is that it's kind of shot as like, oh, we're just in this room and we're watching Jonah get therapy, you know? And then at some point, let's say 20, 30 minutes, I don't know. And they do like a rug pull where it's holy shit. They're actually on a green screen and they've been on a green screen this whole time and they aren't actually in the fucking therapist's office. And the reason why is because I, Jonah Hill, don't know how to make this movie. This movie is not being made the way I think it could be made. And I'm feeling stress about that. And isn't that a topic of therapy and a thing to talk about for the movie? You know, and so that's like one of the first kind of feet to drop. Well, there's other things, but the thing is, it's like, but you made it. And then you released the movie. So, like, don't fucking come to me with your problems about how it's hard to make a movie. I don't give a fuck. Don't make the movie. You decided to. I didn't tell you to make a movie. You decided to make a movie, and now you're telling me you don't know how to do that, and I'm supposed to sympathize with you? That's insane. That's an insane expectation. Like, I think, like, you wouldn't, if you thought it would reflect poorly on you, I don't think you would leave it in the film. But by leaving in the film, I think it's like, but aren't I a victim of wanting to make this movie? And it's like, no, you aren't. Another thing that happens is like pretty early on, like the therapist goes, do you want to talk about your brother? And he's like, no, I don't want to do that. And like, that's kind of like an arc that they track. Cause at the end of the movie, he's like, I think I'm ready to talk about my brother. So it comes across as this really falsified version of like a breakthrough in therapy happening to use as an arc for this movie, which is the thing about the movie is his therapist seems really interesting. And anytime you're seeing the therapy, you're seeing like Jonah Hill make something about himself when the audience just wants to know more about this interesting therapist and his ideas about therapy. And so anytime he's on screen, I'm like, dude, shut up. Let me see the guy. The movie is called Stutz. The guy's named Stutz. It's a movie about Stutz. Let me fucking listen to this guy, you know? And then towards the end, he like quote unquote reconciles with his mom, but like how it comes off is he's basically like, you know, I just think that it's your fault that I have body issues and you're really bad. And it's like, again, I think there's like a way to do that in a way that celebrates therapy. It feels like a breakthrough or something, but the way it was like, it just feels like he trotted that out to like blame her for a bunch of things and use that as the emotional catharsis of the whole movie. Like that was the climax. And it's like all of these things feel like such this narcissistic, arrogant perspective on how an audience is going to see you in the silver screen. That was just every single one of it was a huge miscalculation. And to me, it feeds in really well with this idea of him using therapy language as a means of control and acting like he can't see. I don't know. It was just very, again, because I liked the movie, but this was something I clocked at the time. And so this new context is like, man, this movie was fucking crazy. Like, I don't know. I definitely recommend it, but hey. There's good therapy tips there, but it's from the guy. It's not from, you know, but what were you going to say?
Yeah. I was like using the therapy talk as a means to like be like a controlling partner is like beating someone to death with like a head of lettuce. It's like, you're supposed to like lettuce. Lettuce is healthy for you. This can't hurt us, but like, yeah, you can, if you throw it at someone, like it could probably do some damage. It's not impervious. And then, and then what you're talking about of like him, like how he thinks people will respond to the movie is very like, like celebrity imagine video during the pandemic of like, oh, people are gonna love this, and then because people are gonna care, and then it's like the fact that you thought people would care is actually the problem. It's like really, this is really not good.
Well, I just like, even just the people will care about this and people, this will be good or whatever. It's like there's the impression that is like, well, I got to do something because I'm the person that make things happen, and it's like, well, do something then. Don't fucking do the most nothing thing possible and be like, well, I guess it's up to me. It's like, no, what's up to you is like to say like, wear a fucking mask or something, It's like, but they're like, no, what America really needs is to see my singing face, It's like, it's fucking insane.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you see yourself as Jonah Hill? Like, because you've been like worried about the narcissism thing. Like, do you compare yourself to Jonah Hill? Like, are you worried?
No, I don't know. I've always thought the thing is in interviews and stuff, he comes off bad, like he doesn't like, here's the thing. There's all these people that are famous, and because someone's famous, you have to like them, you have to support them because they're famous. I saw Superbad. Jonah Hill was great in Superbad. He must be a good guy. No, why are you making that? You watched a thing, someone was good in the thing. That's all. You don't have to like or dislike them. You could just, and so I think like people want to believe famous people that are put in front of them must be likable and good. And so as a result, we got to support and root for them. But it's like, no, you don't. You can just watch these people, not form character judgments and not get upset when they're bad, because a lot of people are bad. It's like, if you want a baseline assumption, assume they're not very good. And then go from there. But like assuming that anyone put in front of the TV screen is like a good person and then getting mad when they're not a good person, it's like, that's your fault, which is not to say that it's like, oh, no one should be surprised. They should. It's like, this has nothing to do with it. But it's like, I feel like people it then makes it about, is this person likable? Is this person guilty or not? And it's like, you only feel like that because you're invested in this person maybe being good and you feel betrayal about that. But that's something you did. That's not like it's not like, well, they're all liars. That's their job, is to lie and to seem charming. That doesn't mean that they're good people. That kind of means that they have the skills to be worse people if they wanted to,
Yeah, I think like there's a staggering lack of like media literacy education in the US, I mean, the US is like huge. So there's like a wide slew of stuff. Like, it's on the one hand, I'm like, yeah, like the people that should know better, like you really should know better. And then there's other people who I'm like, I can't even be that mad at you because I'm not sure you know about the existence of writers. And I think that you might think that the people on Big Bang Theory like just come up with that like on their own. Like the actors might come up with it on their own,
Yeah.
And so like I can't even be that mad at you because you've done nothing wrong. And so like you liking Jonah Hill, like you don't like, no, you haven't given the opportunity to like fuck up. But, like people aren't taught about like actors and stuff. And I think it should be probably at least mentioned in schools to be like critical of stuff so that people don't get into idol worship and then get ultimately super disappointed or coerced or manipulated. Like, yeah, it's messed up. The things that seeing someone on a big screen will do to a brain.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really healthy way to look at it. It sounds like it's a way that you don't get super pissed all the time, which is, good, because I just get super pissed all the time.
I've stopped reading the news because like I didn't know about the Titanic sub until like I was streaming one day and then someone told me about it. And I think it's just because like, no, it makes me really fucking upset. Like it just really makes me upset and I can't do it. Because I love righteous indignation. And every time I'm watching, like, every time I end up on YouTube at like 3 a.m. watching like conservative gets owned by liberal debate, like I just know that I'm like, oh, you're in a terrible spot mentally. Like that's a sign that you need to like talk to a friend that you haven't talked to in a while.
Yeah. Sometimes TikTok serves me Karen videos, which is Karen is getting mad and often, getting told off or something. And then for whatever reason, the algorithm associates that with like cop filming videos, some of which are pro cop and some of which are a guy being like, I know my rights and like making a cop look like an asshole, but like, I don't like that stuff, but when you see it, it's like it gets my adrenaline pumping that I'm just gripped and I need to like watch it. And so
For
that
sure.
fucks the algorithm. And then I'm just seeing a ton of and then it's just people taking photos of like homeless people and getting mad, and the comments are things that people should be put to death for saying online.
Yeah.
But it's just like it's just really hateful really quick, just because like I'm watching a Karen get mad and I don't know what's going to happen, and it's I think it's again very healthy that you have the strength to cut yourself off from that,
I fully expect to like fail over and over for the rest of my life. Like it's because it activates the same part of my brain that it's activating for you, where it's like, I literally can't look away. It makes me feel angry. Sometimes it makes me feel like justice has been served, which is a really delicious feeling that you don't get a lot of the time, because in my real life, I am pretty fucking powerless. So like, it's so captivating. It's so captivating to watch that like struggle, like that power dynamic at play.
Yeah. Kevin posted some shit into the chat. What the fuck did you do, Kevin? Fade to Slack writes, I laugh way more during Harmontown, but I like that happens more because Spencer's continually trying to be the best version of himself. Spencer's good enough. He just needs to become comfortable in his own skin. That's an insult. Thank you for the insult. And book guests very regularly until he's a nerd fandom version of Mark Merritt. Now, you've been a producer, Yusong. You can weigh in. I don't want to book guests. That seems like a hassle. Is that my job? Is that Kevin's job? Is that your job?
I think it was like, so, I mean, I'll just like talk really candidly about this. Now, when I see Doughboys and like the stuff that like Emma and Amelia are doing for the show, I'm like, yeah, that's what a producer should be doing. Like when I watched Kevin like work at other shows, I'm like, oh man, like, yeah, like he's actually like pitching segments and like doing creative input. And like, don't get me wrong, that shit is 100% on my resume, but that is not stuff that I normally did. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
And so like, I think it all depends on like what you want, because when I was on Doughboys, like Nick and Mitch were just booking the guests. I was just like, okay, you're booked. Let me just get everyone in a room and, occasionally do something. And it's hard. I think it all depends on like what you ultimately want the show to be, which I know is something that like you've expressed that you're like constantly thinking about. And so it's really, I just want to say that it's really hard to be in your shoes right now. Like genuinely. Yeah.
It sucks to be me. And speaking of things that are hard about my life, I really have to take care of a 5-second emergency. Kevin, do you want to talk to Yusong for a very short amount of time? I'll be right back.
Sure. Kevin, I had a question. I was so scared that this whole time, because I have listened to the show, that I should maybe be talking to you. Have I been rude this whole time?
No, you have not.
Okay.
I don't know. I like being on the show, but I also I just get so enthralled listening to Spencer that I'm probably not the right person for this position, because I will happily just sit here and listen to Spencer for an hour, which Spencer hates, but I love. And I'm realizing the listeners probably don't like either. I should probably chime in occasionally. But an interesting quirk, a technical quirk that I keep probably leaning on too hard is that if I talk because I'm the one hosting this, I stomp on everyone else's audio the moment I make any sound. So anytime I talk, I just cut off whoever's talking. Right, and because of the delay, it sounds very awkward and weird and everything else. So that's one of the reasons why I'm a little bit quieter than I probably should be.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for clearing that up.
I think I heard most of that. What's up? You were going to say something, Kevin.
Oh, no. I'm good. I was just leaning on my
what were you? Okay. All right. I'm sorry. It's my fault. I shouldn't have done that to you. So I have here a pair of athletic shorts, and they got stuck in some part of the dryer and was making a terrible sound. And I was like, well, I can't just let the dryer keep doing that. Something very bad's about to happen. So I had to pull them out. And so I'm sorry that affected the podcast, but it sounds like you guys are good. You guys should do the podcast, it's good. Like, I like listening to you guys talk. It's awesome. Kevin, that's the thing is I'm addicted to speaking, I'm a piece of shit and I want Kevin to talk more, but I also want to talk over Kevin in any specific circumstance that exists, So.
Yeah, sure.
One day your internet connection is going to die 5 seconds before we start, and I'm just going to have to wing it for 10 minutes, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. You know, you won't just put on something else as an emergency. You definitely do that.
All right, maybe, but no. I would attempt to cover. I mean, there was the one week. I mean, this was like 2 years ago where you canceled kind of last minute, and I had already like promoted the show. So I came on for like 10 minutes and talked, and just went, okay, we're going to show a repeat. Because I had to fill time because the repeat we were going to show was too short. So I
was furious about that. I was like, how dare he fucking editorialize on my absence without my say? Boy, I didn't, I didn't do any of, I didn't approve of any of this, No, I'm kidding. Yeah.
It reminds me of like, I don't know. This reminds me of, so when I was an intern at Feral Audio, when Harmontown was still at like Nerd Melt, this is way back. Dustin tried to get me on stage for Dungeons and Dragons. And I was very shy at the time, but only because I thought I was supposed to be shy. You know what I mean? Like, you know how there's like sociopaths that, and I say that so pejoratively and so facetiously, at like networking events. I don't know. Like I've met people at networking events who have like been like, oh, can I come? Like to an uninvited thing. Like I've been talking to someone else about like a thing and they're like, can I come? And it's just like so brazen. And like, in my mind, it's such a faux pas. But I was just thinking, and it's not even a question. I was just reminiscing about, what would it have been if I was a little bit more brazen? Like, what would that have necessarily looked like? Would it have been good or bad?
You would have been the next Spencer.
Growth. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go, Kevin.
I see a lot of growth in you, at least from my experience with you back in the Nerd Melt Harmontown days. I only met you a few times there, but yes, I think you only said maybe 3 words the 5 times I met you.
Yeah, I think that was because I was like, holy shit, like this is I know like this doesn't happen like to English majors don't get jobs that they want. Like my parents, like, my parents think I'm gonna die. Like my parents like have so little faith in me. Like this doesn't happen. So I was like the whole time really fucking petrified of screwing it up, and that results in just like a paralysis where I wish I just would have said anything. I wish I'd even made more mistakes. I wish I'd just been a little bit more outgoing, but it's like impossible to learn those lessons if it's your first time doing it,
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, I feel like that 100%. And I don't know, I think it would have been really good if if you went on the D&D. I think it would have been great, and we would have wanted you back. It would have been great. I don't know, maybe they wouldn't have wanted you back just because no one really cared about the D&D. But I did. But I would have wanted you back. And then really nice. Then Harmontown never would have ended, I don't think. So.
Oh fuck, my Twitter replies.
No, but I agree with Kevin though. I think I assume it's probably streaming, right? But I think you've become very gregarious in a very attractive way. I think again, it's like this very good energy that draws people in.
That's really kind. I wish no, that's just really fucking kind. I'm gonna try not to shit endlessly on myself because someone said something nice. That's really kind. Yeah, I was a way different person back then. I was really scared, and now I've realized like, no, you kind of have to be loud if you ever want to do anything, Yusong. So just try to be loud and don't be mean. So.
Exactly. That's the thing. Is I tried, but I failed. I'd be mean a lot. But wait. You were talking about shitting on yourself. Shitting on yourself. Are you talking about celebrating your birthday at Brick's Shithouse?
Oh, what the fuck?
That's our show, everybody. I don't know. Patreon.com/thesixler. Give me money. Find my purpose. Help me find my purpose. My Patreon also doesn't have a purpose. We got to get purposeful in this bitch, and I think we will. What about you, Yusong? You got. Where can people help you prove your parents wrong? I don't know.
Yeah, fuck yeah. You can help me prove my parents wrong at twitch.tv/YU_SONG. You can search YU_SONG on YouTube. I do daily like let's play videos. I have a very I resent my community for being way funnier than me. Like every comment is like one of my inside jokes, but it's been yes-anded in a way that makes me feel like fucking embarrassed. So, I hope to see you there. You can help me there. But thanks for having me on the show, guys. I really loved it.
Yeah, man, it's always great. We gotta have you back. We gotta have you back all the time. I'm sure there's people being like, Yusong should come on all the time, and I think most of the times that gets me really mad. But if people were to say that, I don't think it would. So yeah, what about you, Kevin? Kevin's got some stuff. Yeah, no problem, man.
Just check out ShrubHomeVideo.com every Sunday. We've got like 6 hours worth of new shows every Sunday, ranging from Abed's to Tally's to this show to real life sci-fi. And then like tonight, Rob Schraub has a brand new episode of Primitive CGI Theater. So just ShrubHomeVideo.com. Check us out on Sundays.
Yeah, and I've been trying to do food videos. I would like to be a food influencer, but I'm probably gonna have to stop soon because I'm getting too fat. I gotta become like a fitness influencer for a while or something. But check out my YouTube for stuff. I just started a new series called Eating Food in the Neighborhood.
Spencer, what is your YouTube channel?
I think it's youtube.com/thesixler.
Okay,
I don't know though.
I'll search the Sixler. I'll find it.
I think it is though. I think it's like / I think I got really lucky or whatever, but who can say? Nice. Certainly not the person who would benefit from knowing this information. But hey, we like to end the podcast the same way we do every week. So until next time, shit with Satan. Remember that, Kevin? Remember we used to say that. That used to be kind of a regular catch. Go ahead.
That was our catchphrase. Yeah,
I forgot. That. Yeah,
it was the good old days.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.